All right, it's currently the 25th of August, and I have to share what happened when I asked Jesus one of the deepest questions that has ever haunted me. What does the soul actually remember after we pass from this life? What he revealed to me wasn't an answer, but an experience that completely dismantled my human understanding of memory. He showed me that our life story isn't erased or forgotten. It's perfected in a way that is so beautiful, so merciful, that it will fundamentally change how you think about your own past, your future, and the legacies of everyone you've ever loved. Before I can even begin to explain the miracle of what Jesus showed me, I need to be completely honest with you about where this question was coming from in my own heart. This wasn't some abstract theological debate for me. It was a raw, personal ache that has been growing for years. For you to really feel the weight of what he revealed, you have to understand the journey that led me to ask. It's a bit of a story, but without it, the incredible peace that he offered me won't carry the meaning it deserves, so please stick with me. It really started to intensify a few years ago with the passing of a dear family friend. Her name was Eleanor, and she was one of those people who was pure sunshine. She lived a long, incredible life filled with so much laughter and kindness. But in her later years, she struggled with her memory, and watching her story seem to fade was one of the most difficult things for our family to witness. It planted this deep, unsettling question in my soul. Is that what happens to our story? Does it just slowly unravel and disappear into the ether? I found myself wrestling with this concept of legacy. What is the final story that gets told? Is it the one that other people remember about us, or is it something deeper that our soul carries? I'd look at old photographs of Eleanor, vibrant and full of life, and then think of her final years, and my heart would just break with this profound question. Which version of her was the real one? Which memories did her soul take into eternity? I needed to know that the beautiful 90-year story of her life wasn't ultimately defined by its final, fading chapters. This question followed me everywhere, into my prayer life, into my quiet moments. It made me look at my own life and wonder about my own memories. We all have moments we cherish and moments we wish we could erase forever. I started to fear the idea of a heavenly life review, not because of judgment, but because I didn't want to carry the sting of my worst moments into eternity. I wanted to believe that heaven was a place of peace, but I couldn't understand how that was possible if our souls were just archives of every painful memory. Then, this past year, the questions became even louder. My grandmother, who is the rock of our family, started sharing more stories from her youth, recalling moments with a clarity that was just beautiful. But with each story, that old question would surface in my mind. What happens to these precious memories? How are they preserved? It created this urgency in me to understand God's economy of memory, because it felt like one of the most important things we as humans carry the story of our lives and the lives of those who came before us. I started talking to people about it, cautiously at first. I brought it up with a priest I trust, and he offered some beautiful theological ideas, but my heart was looking for something more than theology. I was looking for assurance. I talked to friends who had lost loved ones, and I realized I wasn't alone in this. So many of us carry this quiet fear that the pain of this life, the regrets, the moments of shame, will somehow tarnish our eternal existence. We all just want to know that our loved ones are okay, and that we will be too. The nature of my work has also brought this question into sharp focus. We're currently filming Season 6 of The Chosen, just a couple of months after Season 5 came out, and the scripts are dealing so much with legacy, what the disciples will remember, and what Jesus wants them to carry forward. Living in that headspace every day on set, these questions about what we ultimately carry forward became so loud in my own heart, and I knew I couldn't keep ignoring them. It felt like God was using my work to prepare me to seek a real answer. I'd be in a scene, speaking words Jesus spoke about eternal life, and in the back of my mind, I'd be wrestling with this. How can I portray the Prince of Peace if I don't understand how he brings peace to our most painful memories? It felt like a disconnect, a spiritual crisis that I had to address. I realized I couldn't just keep asking the question to other people. I had to take it directly to the source. I needed to have a real, honest conversation with Jesus about what happens to the stories our souls carry. I think we all have these unaskable questions for God, the ones that feel too big or maybe even too selfish. This was mine. It felt so deeply personal. I worried that maybe the answer was one I didn't want to hear. What if we do remember everything, with all the pain intact? What if eternity was just a continuation of the same internal battles we fought on earth? The fear of that possibility was almost paralyzing, and it kept me from truly asking for a long time. I was asking about the question, but not asking for the answer. The desire for an answer also came from a place of wanting to comfort others. I've sat with so many people in their grief, people who are haunted by the final, difficult moments with their loved ones. They remember the illness, the confusion, the pain, and they desperately need to know that their loved one is no longer defined by that suffering. All I could ever offer were platitudes and hopeful guesses. I wanted to be able to offer them something more, something real. I wanted to give them a hope rooted in something other than human optimism. This longing for truth became a constant prayer, but it was a scattered one. I'd be driving or in between takes, and I'd just whisper, "Lord, please, help me understand memory." But it wasn't focused. It was a question born of anxiety, not of faith. I was talking at God, not creating a space to truly listen to Him. I've learned that revelation rarely comes in the midst of chaos. It comes in the stillness, in the intentionality of seeking His heart with your whole heart, and I knew that's what I had to do. I started to prepare myself for a more intentional time of prayer. I knew I couldn't just sandwich this massive question in between a dozen other prayer requests. This question deserved its own space, its own time. It required me to quiet my own mind, my own fears, and my own preconceived notions about what the answer might be. I had to be willing to receive whatever He wanted to share, even if it wasn't the simple, easy answer I was hoping for. True seeking requires surrender, and I was finally ready to do that. By the way, I'd love to know where you're watching from and what time it is. Drop a comment below. It's always so humbling to see how we're all connected on this journey from every corner of the world. Anyway, as I was preparing my heart, I thought a lot about what the scriptures say, and while they talk about wiping away every tear, they don't give a lot of specific detail about the mechanics of memory. They promise peace, they promise joy, they promise reunion, but the how is often a mystery. And it was that mystery that my human heart was struggling with. I needed to understand the process, the gentle way that God handles the most delicate parts of our story, the parts that hold our deepest pain and our most profound regrets. So, I decided to set aside an entire evening for this one question. I fasted that day, not as some religious obligation, but as a way to quiet my body and focus my spirit. I spent time in worship, just singing and reminding my heart of who God is, that He is good, that He is merciful, that He is the author of my story, and every story. I wanted to approach Him not with a demand for information, but with a humble request for understanding, as a son coming to his father. That evening, as I went into my prayer time, I brought all of these faces with me. I brought Eleanor, my grandmother, the grieving people I had met, and even myself, with all my own fears about my past and my future. This wasn't just an academic question anymore. It was a prayer for peace, for comfort, for a revelation that could heal not just my own heart, but the hearts of everyone who was carrying this same burden of uncertainty. I felt a sense of sacred responsibility in that moment. I thought about how Jesus interacted with people in the Gospels. He never dismissed their questions, no matter how simple or complex. He always met them right where they were, with compassion and a truth that was tailored for their heart. He met the woman at the well by acknowledging her past without condemning her. He met Thomas in his doubt by offering him proof. I held on to that, believing that He would meet me in my uncertainty with the same grace and tenderness. I trusted His character more than I trusted my ability to understand. This question about memory is really a question about identity. We believe, on some level, that we are our memories. They shape who we are, how we see the world, and how we relate to others. So, to ask what happens to our memories is to ask, who will I be in eternity? Will I be a healed, whole version of myself, or will I just be a spirit haunted by the ghost of my earthly life? I laid that fundamental fear at his feet, the fear that I might not be truly free. I was also asking for my own future. One day, God willing, I'll be an old man. My life will be a long story with many chapters. I wanted to live my remaining years not in fear of creating more painful memories, but in the freedom of knowing that every part of my story would be redeemed. I wanted to be able to make mistakes, to learn, to grow, and to trust that God's grace was bigger than my memory's ability to hold on to shame. This was a prayer for my sanctification as much as it was for my eternal comfort. The turning point came late one night. I was at home, sitting in quiet, looking at an old photograph of my family. In it was a younger version of me, and for a moment I was flooded with memories of that time, the good, the bad, the insecurities, the joys, and the weight of it all just hit me. The sheer volume of moments that make up a life, and the question of what it all means in the end, became overwhelming. It was in that moment of feeling small and overwhelmed that I finally prayed the prayer I was meant to pray. I didn't use fancy words. I just closed my eyes and spoke from the deepest part of my soul. I said, Jesus, I have to know. What happens to all of this? I gestured to my head, my heart. What do we remember? Do we carry the pain of our mistakes forever? Does Eleanor remember her life, the beautiful parts? Please, Lord, I trust you. If you're willing, just show me. I need to understand how your mercy works with our memories. I completely surrendered, with no expectations, just a desperate need for a glimmer of truth. As I sat there in the silence after my prayer, something began to shift. It wasn't a sound or a light, but a change in the very atmosphere of the room. The air grew still, but it was a heavy stillness, pregnant with presence. A profound sense of peace began to settle over me, a peace that went beyond just being quiet. It was a peace that felt active, intentional, like it was preparing my heart for something sacred. I knew with every fiber of my being that my prayer was being heard. I didn't fall asleep, but I was drawn into a state of consciousness that I can only describe as a waking vision. My physical surroundings faded away, and my spiritual senses came alive. It was gentle, not jarring. I felt completely safe, completely held. And in the center of that sacred space, I felt the presence of Jesus. He wasn't there as a figure of light or a distant king, but as the intimate shepherd of my soul, the one who knew my question before I even asked it. Before I could even articulate my question again, I felt him communicate a thought directly to my heart, clearer than any spoken word. The feeling was one of profound tenderness. It was as if he was saying, Jonathan, I've heard this question in your heart for so long. I know the fear it comes from. I want to show you the truth, not so you can have information, but so you can have peace. I want to show you how I care for the story of every soul I have ever created. The first thing he helped me understand was that a soul's memory is not at all like a human brain's memory. Our brain is a physical organ that files data, and it can decay or be damaged. But the soul's memory, he explained, is a living tapestry. It's not a collection of files, but a vibrant, interconnected story woven with the threads of love. Every moment of connection, every act of kindness, every lesson learned is a luminous thread in that tapestry. That's what the soul carries. He then showed me what happens to the painful memories, the ones I was so afraid of. He didn't say they were erased or deleted. That would mean a part of our story was lost. Instead, he showed me that they are healed. He used the analogy of a scar. On earth, a scar is a reminder of a wound. In eternity, the scar remains, but it no longer hurts. Instead, it glows, because it becomes a testament to the healing that took place, the strength that was gained, and the grace that was received. I began to understand that in eternity, we don't remember our pain, we remember our deliverance from it. We don't remember our sin, we remember the overwhelming grace of the forgiveness we received. The memory is transformed from a source of shame into a source of eternal gratitude. He showed me that the very memories we fear most will become the foundation of our most joyful praise, as we will finally and fully understand the depth of the love that redeemed them. It was a complete paradigm shift. Then, he addressed my question about Eleanor and her fading memory. He showed me that her soul's tapestry was perfectly intact, vibrant, and whole. He explained that earthly conditions like age or illness can obscure the tapestry, like dust covering a masterpiece, but they can never ever damage the artwork itself. The moment her soul was free from her earthly body, the masterpiece of her life story was revealed in all its brilliant color, more complete and beautiful than ever. My relief was so profound, it brought me to tears. He continued to explain that in eternity, we also receive a perfected perspective. We get to see our life story from his point of view. I was shown glimpses of how this works. I saw a man who had felt like a failure his whole life. Jesus showed him how his failed business had actually created an opportunity that changed someone else's life for the better. He saw how his struggles had taught his children resilience in a way his success never could have. He saw that his story wasn't one of failure, but of hidden purpose. This understanding of perfected perspective was revolutionary. It means that no part of our story is wasted. Every wrong turn, every disappointment, every season of confusion is woven into the tapestry in a way that serves a greater purpose. We will finally see the divine choreography in what felt like chaos on earth. He helped me understand that our life isn't a series of disconnected events, but a single, coherent narrative that he is authoring, and in heaven, we finally get to read it with him. He then showed me something about how we remember other people. In eternity, we don't remember the caricatures we often hold of people on earth, the frustrating boss, the difficult relative. Instead, we see them as he sees them. We see their tapestry. We understand their wounds, their struggles, their story. This brings about a profound healing in all our relationships. Every misunderstanding is clarified, every hurt is forgiven, because we finally have the context of love that was missing on earth. I realized that heaven isn't just about being in a beautiful place. It's about having beautiful relationships perfected by this shared understanding. The grudges, the resentments, the things that create distance between us on earth, they all dissolve in the light of this divine perspective. We will finally be able to love each other perfectly because we will know each other perfectly, just as we are perfectly known by God. This is the community that awaits us, a community where every story is honored. Jesus also explained that the most vivid, brilliant threads in our soul's tapestry are the moments of selfless love. Every time we chose kindness when it was hard, every time we forgave when we were wronged, every prayer we offered for someone else, these are the moments that shine the brightest. He showed me that our eternal identity isn't built on our accomplishments or our status, but on the accumulated weight of these small, often unseen choices to love. This is the currency of heaven. This gave me a whole new perspective on daily life. It means that the most important thing we are doing at any given moment is weaving our eternal story. The brief interaction with the cashier at the grocery store, the patient response to a frustrated child, the quiet moment of prayer for a friend, these are not insignificant. They are the primary work of our lives. They are the threads that will make our eternal tapestry a masterpiece of breathtaking beauty. It filled me with a sense of purpose that was both profound and incredibly simple. He also gently addressed the fear of being forgotten. He showed me how every soul is eternally remembered by God, held in his perfect love. But more than that, he showed me how the threads of our tapestry are woven into the tapestries of others. The love we give becomes a permanent part of someone else's story. So we are not only remembered by God, but we live on in the eternal stories of everyone we ever touched with his love. In this way, no one is ever truly gone or forgotten. I was shown how this interconnectedness works. I saw a teacher who had patiently taught a difficult student. In eternity, she was able to see how that student went on to become a great leader, and she could see her thread of patience woven right into the foundation of his success. She didn't just know it, she felt the joy of it as if it were her own. Our joys become shared, our triumphs become communal, because we see how we were all part of each other's stories. This revelation about our interconnected stories brought me so much comfort. It means that the love we pour into our families, our friends, our communities, it has an eternal life. It doesn't end. It ripples outward, weaving its way through generations, and we will one day see the full, beautiful impact of the love we chose to share. This is our true legacy, not what we build or acquire, but the love we embed in the stories of others. That can never be taken away. He also helped me understand that this process of memory healing begins the moment a soul crosses over. There is no waiting period of confusion or fear. The soul is immediately met by His love, and the gentle process of revealing the truth of their story begins. It is a process of comfort, of revelation, of peace. No soul is left to wrestle with their painful memories alone. They are guided through their own story by the perfect love of its author. This beautiful, merciful process is available to every single soul. It's not dependent on how good a life someone lived or how perfect their theology was. It's a gift of pure grace, flowing from the heart of a father who loves his children infinitely and wants them to understand the beauty of the life He gave them. He showed me that His desire is for every soul to see themselves as He has always seen them, as a beloved, cherished masterpiece. The entire revelation wasn't a lecture, it was an experience. I didn't just hear these things, I felt them. I felt the peace of a soul finally understanding their own story. I felt the joy of a healed memory. I felt the warmth of perfected relationships. Jesus wasn't just giving me information to appease my intellectual curiosity. He was healing the deep wound in my heart that had been aching over this question for years. He was giving me His peace by showing me His process. As He was explaining all of this, He began to show me how the soul not only remembers its own story, but it also gains a perfect understanding of its purpose. The why behind every joy and every sorrow becomes crystal clear. I saw a woman who had spent her life caring for a child with special needs. She often felt her world was small and her life was one of sacrifice. In eternity, she saw that her life wasn't a sacrifice, but an epic story of love that had qualified her for a unique and beautiful role of service. He showed me that the skills we learn on earth, patience, empathy, perseverance, compassion, are not just for our earthly journey. They are training for our eternal purpose. The person who learned deep compassion through loss becomes a master comforter in heaven. The one who learned perseverance through struggle becomes a guide for other souls. Our earthly experiences are the curriculum for our eternal vocations, and our memories are the record of our qualification. Nothing is wasted. This understanding transforms how we should view our struggles. They are not random punishments or meaningless tragedies. They are part of our soul's education. He wasn't saying that God causes our pain, but that He redeems it so completely that our greatest wounds become the source of our greatest strengths in the life to come. This truth doesn't remove the sting of suffering in the moment, but it infuses it with a profound sense of hope and purpose that changes everything. He also showed me that our soul remembers all the love we were shown, even the love we didn't recognize at the time. We will be able to feel the impact of prayers that were said for us by people we never even met. We will see the stranger who showed us a small kindness on a bad day and understand the divine appointment in that moment. We will realize we were walking through a world saturated with more love and prayer than we ever imagined. I saw a man who had lived a very lonely life on earth. He was shown the full tapestry of his story, and in it were shimmering threads he had never seen before. He saw an old woman who prayed for him every day after seeing him on the bus. He saw a coworker who secretly admired his integrity. He saw all the hidden love that had surrounded him, and for the first time, he understood he had never truly been alone. This means that our acts of love and prayer have a power we cannot comprehend. They are not just fleeting sentiments. They become eternal threads in another person's soul story. When you pray for someone, you are weaving a thread of light and strength into their eternal tapestry. This revelation gave me an incredible sense of motivation to love more, to pray more, because I now understood the tangible, eternal impact of those choices. He then gently turned the revelation to me personally. He helped me see that my own desire to understand this was not just for me, but it was a question He wanted to answer for many. He showed me that my role as an actor, telling stories that touch people's hearts, was a small reflection of what He does for every soul, revealing the true meaning and beauty of their story. He was inviting me to share this message of hope, this divine perspective on memory. I felt such a sense of humility and purpose in that moment. This encounter wasn't just a private comfort, it was a commissioning. It was a call to alleviate the very fear that I myself had carried for so long. Jesus was entrusting me with this beautiful truth about His mercy. not to keep to myself, but to share freely with anyone who is afraid of their past or worried about the legacy of those they have lost. The responsibility felt immense, but the peace it carried was even greater. The beauty of this perfected memory is that it frees us from the tyranny of regret. On earth, we are so often haunted by the what-ifs and if-onlys, but from the eternal perspective, we will see how even our mistakes were redeemed and used for good. We will feel the forgiveness we receive not just from God, but from those we hurt, because they too will have the perfected perspective of love. All accounts are settled, all relationships are healed. This is the great reconciliation. He showed me that we will also have a perfect memory of beauty. Every sunset that took our breath away, every piece of music that stirred our soul, every moment of quiet joy, these will be remembered with a clarity and vibrancy that is impossible on earth. We will understand that these were glimpses of heaven, little appetizers of the eternal feast of beauty that He has prepared for us. Our capacity for joy will be infinitely expanded, and our memories will be a source of that endless delight. I also understood that our soul remembers our growth. We will be able to trace the journey of our own transformation from spiritual infancy to maturity. We will see the moments where we chose faith over fear, where we grew in virtue, where we became more like Christ. This will not be a source of pride, but of profound gratitude for the gentle, patient work of the Holy Spirit in our lives. We will see ourselves as the works of art that He was sculpting all along. The question of, do we know our loved ones, was answered so beautifully. He explained that we don't just know them, we know them more fully and completely than we ever could on earth. We will see their perfected story, their radiant tapestry, and we will love them without any of the baggage or limitations of our earthly relationships. It will be a reunion not just of presence, but of perfect understanding and perfected love. It will be the homecoming our hearts have always longed for. He showed me that we will also remember the funny moments, the laughter, the simple joys. Heaven is not a somber, serious place. It is a place of explosive joy. Our memories of laughter on earth are a foretaste of the joy of heaven. He showed me souls sharing their favorite, funny memories from their lives, and the laughter was pure and holy. Our whole personhood, including our sense of humor, is redeemed and perfected because it was a gift from Him in the first place. This entire experience reframed my understanding of life itself. It is not a test to be passed or failed. It is the authoring of a great story, a love story between the soul and its creator. And the memories we are creating each day are the sentences and paragraphs of that story. The goal is to live a story that is so full of love that when it is read back to us in eternity, it will be a source of unending joy and gratitude. He helped me see that we don't need to be afraid of what we will remember, because the one helping us remember is the embodiment of perfect love and mercy. He is not an accuser, showing us our highlight reel of failures. He is a loving Father, walking us through our family album, pointing out our beauty, celebrating our growth, and reminding us of how deeply we were loved at every single step of the journey, even when we felt most alone. The revelation was clear. Memory in heaven is not a burden, it is a blessing. It is not a source of pain, it is a source of praise. It is not a record of our shame, it is a testament to His grace. Our stories are not forgotten or discarded, they are cherished, healed, and celebrated for all of eternity. They become our unique song in the great choir of heaven, a song of redemption that only we can sing. He showed me that even the memories of our earthly desires are perfected. Our longing for justice will be satisfied by seeing His perfect justice. Our longing for peace will be fulfilled in His perfect peace. Our longing for love will be completely consumed by His perfect love. Every good and holy desire we had on earth, no matter how unfulfilled it felt, will find its ultimate consummation in Him. Our memories will remind us of the hunger that has now been eternally satisfied. I understood that the soul remembers everything that love has touched. And since God is love and He touches everything, then in a healed and perfected sense, our soul remembers the whole story. But it remembers it through the lens of redemption. It's like watching a movie for the second time, but this time you know the triumphant ending. So even the scary and sad parts are seen in the context of the ultimate victory. That's how we will view our lives. This truth also brings a new urgency to the idea of forgiveness on earth. When we choose to forgive someone here, we are participating in our own eternal healing. We are allowing God to begin the process of healing that memory now, of removing its sting. Holding on to bitterness and resentment is like insisting on keeping a painful, unhealed memory. Forgiveness is our way of cooperating with His eternal plan for our peace. He also showed me that we will remember the lessons our pets taught us about unconditional love. The love we share with God's creatures is a real, true form of love, and the memory of that simple, pure affection is also a thread in our tapestry. It's part of our story of learning to love and be loved, and it is cherished by the God who created every living thing and called it good. The entire encounter felt like it lasted a lifetime, but also just a moment. It was outside of time, and the overwhelming feeling was one of profound, unshakable peace. The fear that had been a quiet tenant in my soul for so long was completely gone, evicted by the beautiful, merciful truth of how God cherishes the story of every single soul. I was left with nothing but gratitude and a deep sense of awe at the tenderness of His love. He showed me that we should not grieve for our loved ones as if their stories are over. We should think of them as having just graduated to the director's cut of their own lives, seeing it all with perfect clarity, beauty, and understanding. They are not lost in a fog of fading memories, but are more vibrantly themselves than ever before, defined by the perfected, eternal story of love that is their soul's memory. The beauty of this is that it invites us to be co-authors with God in our own story. Every day we have a choice. Will we weave a thread of bitterness or a thread of forgiveness, a thread of fear or a thread of faith, a thread of selfishness or a thread of love? Knowing how the story will be remembered gives us the courage and the motivation to make choices that will make our eternal tapestry shine even more brightly. He explained that our memory will also be a key part of our service in heaven. Because we remember what it was like to struggle, we can offer the most authentic comfort to others. Our healed memories of hardship become our credentials for ministry. This is why nothing is wasted. Our earthly pain is transformed into our eternal qualification to serve and love others with a depth of empathy we could not have otherwise possessed. I saw how a soul who had battled with anxiety on earth became a beacon of peace for newly arrived souls who were feeling disoriented. Their memory of anxiety wasn't a burden, it was a bridge of connection. They could say, with total authenticity, I know how you feel, and I am here to tell you that everything is okay. You are safe. The comfort in that is beyond what words can describe. He then showed me something that brought everything into focus, the cross. He helped me understand that the cross is the ultimate example of a healed memory. It was the moment of greatest earthly pain, injustice, and suffering. But in the light of the resurrection, it is not remembered as a tragedy. It is remembered as the single greatest act of love in history, the ultimate victory. That is the model for how God heals and reframes every painful memory in our own lives. Through the lens of the cross, every injustice we suffered is reframed as a participation in His suffering. Every moment of loneliness is reframed as an entry into His agony in the garden. And every act of forgiveness we offer is a participation in His words from the cross. Father, forgive them. Our story and our memories are ultimately swept up into His much greater story of redemption. We don't just remember our story, we remember our part in His. This revelation is not just comforting, it's empowering. It means we can look at our own past, even the parts that bring us shame, and know that they are not the final word. The final word is grace. The final word is redemption. The final word is love. We can trust Him with the story of our lives, knowing that He is the perfect editor and will one day reveal to us a masterpiece we never could have imagined while we were living through the messy first draft. He also showed me that when we are reunited with Jesus, our deepest memory will be a recognition. It will be the feeling of coming home. We will remember, on a soul level, the one who created us, who walked with us, who carried us, and who loved us from the very beginning of time. It will be the ultimate aha moment, where everything finally makes sense in the light of His face. That is the memory that all other memories point toward. The entire vision was saturated with a feeling of mercy. The system is not designed to be harsh or exacting. It is designed with infinite tenderness to ensure that every soul's entrance into eternity is a homecoming, a healing, and a celebration. The dominant characteristic of heaven is not holiness in a sterile sense, but love in a vibrant, relational, and deeply personal sense. And our healed memories are the proof of that love. Then, in the most personal part of the encounter, he allowed me to feel the presence of my friend Eleanor again. It wasn't a ghostly image, but a vibrant, joyful reality. She wasn't just young again, she was complete. She was the sum of all her best moments, all her wisdom, all her love, perfected and made radiant. I didn't see her story, I felt it. I felt the tapestry of her 90 years of life as a single, beautiful chord of music. And in that chord, I could feel her perfect memory of everything. I felt her memory of her wedding day, not as a fading photograph, but with all the original joy and hope perfectly preserved. I felt her memory of holding her first child, with the love as fresh and powerful as it was in that first moment. But I also felt her memories of hardship, not with pain, but with a deep, peaceful understanding of the strength she gained from them. It was all there, all healed. Then I felt something that broke me wide open. I felt her memory of me. I felt her remember a time when I was a little boy and had given her a handful of dandelions from the yard. In my memory, it was an insignificant, forgotten moment. In her perfected memory, it was a brilliant, shining thread of pure, innocent love. She remembered it not just as a cute thing a kid did, but she felt the love behind it, and it was preserved perfectly. In that instant, I understood we are remembered for our love. The little things, the forgotten things, the small acts of kindness, those are the headlines in our eternal story. All the things we worry about, our failures, our awkward moments, our embarrassments, they are just footnotes in the grand, beautiful story of how we learn to love. I felt my lifetime of anxiety about my own past just dissolve into nothing. Eleanor's presence was pure joy and peace. It was a confirmation of everything Jesus had been showing me. She wasn't defined by the last few years of her life. She was defined by a lifetime of love. Her memory wasn't a faded, broken thing. It was the most complete and beautiful story imaginable. And the love she had for her family, for me, was not a distant memory. It was a present, powerful reality, more potent than ever before. The experience with her was the ultimate gift. It took the entire revelation from a beautiful concept and made it a living reality. Jesus didn't just tell me the truth. He showed me the proof through the radiant, joyful soul of someone I loved. He showed me that what awaits us is not just a theological principle of mercy, but a practical, experiential reality of total healing and joyful remembrance. I could feel her gratitude, not just for her life, but for every part of it. She was grateful for the struggles because they made her strong. She was grateful for the joys because they were a taste of heaven. She was grateful for every person in her life because they were a thread in her beautiful tapestry. Her memory was a symphony of gratitude, and I was allowed to hear a few notes of it. It was the most beautiful sound I have ever heard. This personal climax of the encounter healed something in me that I didn't even know was so broken. It healed my grief for Eleanor. I no longer thought of her with a sense of sadness or loss. I thought of her with joy, knowing that she is more herself than ever before, enjoying the perfected story of her life with the God who wrote it. It transformed my grief into a joyful anticipation of reunion. It also healed my fear of the future. I saw that the goal of life is not to avoid making mistakes or creating painful memories. The goal is to keep weaving threads of love, to keep learning, to keep growing, and to trust that the master weaver will take all of it, the bright colors and the dark ones, and create something breathtakingly beautiful. It gave me the freedom to live more boldly, more lovingly, and with much less fear. I understood that when we miss our loved ones, we are missing only the earthly, incomplete version of them. The true, perfected version is not gone. They are simply home. And they are not looking back on their lives with regret, but with a joy and understanding that we can't yet comprehend. They wouldn't trade their perfected perspective for anything, and they are waiting patiently to share it with us when it is our time. The vision of Eleanor was a promise. It was a promise for her, for me, and for every single person. It was a promise that our story is safe in God's hands. It will not be lost, it will not be tarnished, and it will not be forgotten. It will be healed, perfected, and celebrated for all of eternity. That is the promise of His love, and I felt it in the deepest part of my soul. I realized that our memories are a gift, not just to us, but to the community of heaven. Each soul's unique story adds a new color, a new texture, a new song to the eternal kingdom. Our lives, with all their quirks and turns, contribute something absolutely unique to the beauty of heaven. We are not just spectators, we are part of the art. Our memories are the proof of our unique, unrepeatable contribution to God's great story. The most beautiful part of this perfected memory is that it allows love to be perfected. On earth, our love is always tainted by our own selfishness, our fears, our insecurities. But when all of that is healed, and we see others through God's eyes, we are finally free to love them with the pure, selfless, joyful love that we were always created for. Our perfected memories become the foundation for our perfected relationships. I saw that in heaven, Eleanor could love her family even more effectively than she could on earth. Her love was no longer limited by a human body or a tired mind. It was a pure, spiritual force, and her prayers for her family were now informed by her perfected perspective. She had become a powerful intercessor, her love transformed from earthly care into heavenly advocacy. The connection was not broken, it was elevated. This finally brought peace to the ache in my heart that started this whole journey. The story of Eleanor wasn't a tragedy of fading memory. It was a triumph of eternal love. The final chapters didn't define the book. They were just the final turn of the page that led to the glorious epilogue written by God Himself. I finally understood, and the gratitude I felt was absolutely overwhelming. As the encounter with Eleanor and the vision of the tapestry began to gently fade, the last thing Jesus communicated to my heart was a simple, powerful thought. This is my promise. Live in this truth and share it with everyone who is afraid. Tell them their story is safe with me. It was a command, a comfort, and a commissioning all in one. And I knew, with every fiber of my being, that I would spend the rest of my life doing just that. I came back to full awareness in my room, the photograph still in my hand, but everything looked different. The world seemed brighter, more vibrant. The weight that I had been carrying on my shoulders for years was completely gone. It was replaced by a lightness, a sense of peace that was so tangible I could almost hold it. I wasn't the same person who had prayed that desperate prayer just a short time before. The first thing I felt was an overwhelming love for every person in my life, past and present. I saw them not just as the people I knew, but as eternal souls authoring a great and beautiful story. I wanted to call every single person and tell them that their story was beautiful and that God was cherishing every chapter of it. The revelation wasn't just for me, it was for all of us. I also felt a deep sense of freedom from my own past. The moments of shame and regret that used to pop into my head and steal my peace had lost their power. I could now see them through the lens of this new understanding. They were not defining moments, but refining moments. They were the places where grace had done its deepest work. They were the foundation for the gratitude that was now flooding my heart. This understanding of memory is, I believe, one of the most hopeful truths of our faith. It means that the end of our story on earth is not the end of the story, it's just the beginning of understanding it. It's the moment we finally get to see how every random, confusing, painful, and beautiful thread was woven together to create a masterpiece that will bring glory to God and joy to us for all of eternity. So when you think of your loved ones who have passed, I want you to try to see them in this new light. They are not gone, they are complete. They are not forgotten, they are perfectly remembered. They are not defined by their struggles, but by their triumphant, healed, and perfected story of love. They are enjoying their life story with its author, and they are more real and more themselves than they ever were here. And for your own life, I want you to live with this eternal perspective in mind. Live today knowing that you are weaving your eternal tapestry. Choose the thread of love, choose the thread of forgiveness, choose the thread of kindness. Your story matters so much more than you can possibly imagine. Every single moment is a brushstroke on your eternal masterpiece. Live a beautiful story. This truth frees us to live with courage. We don't have to be perfect. We just have to be willing to be perfected. We can embrace our struggles, knowing they are forging our eternal character. We can forgive freely, knowing we are participating in our own healing. And we can love boldly, knowing that love is the only thing that truly lasts, the only thread that shines with eternal brilliance in our soul's great tapestry. I know this is a lot to take in. It was for me too, but the peace that this revelation has brought into my life is so profound that I had to share it. This isn't just a nice idea or a comforting thought. I believe with my whole heart that this is the truth. This is the merciful reality that awaits every single one of us. Our stories are safe, our souls are loved, and our memories will be made perfect. So let this truth sink into your heart. Let it comfort you in your grief. Let it encourage you in your struggles. Let it inspire you in your daily life. God is the author and the perfecter of your story. Trust Him with the pen. He is writing a story for you that is more beautiful than you can ever imagine, and one day He will have the infinite joy of revealing it to you. When I woke up the next morning after this encounter, the world felt new. The fear was gone. I looked at the faces of my family, my friends, even strangers, and I saw them differently. I saw them as living, breathing, eternal stories of incredible value. It has changed how I pray, how I interact with people, and how I view my own life. The goal is no longer success or comfort, but simply to weave as much love into my story as I possibly can. I want you to have that same peace. Your past does not define you. Your mistakes do not disqualify you. Your pain will not be wasted. Your story is being woven by a master weaver, and he is creating something for you that will take your breath away when you finally see it whole. Every thread matters, and he is lovingly weaving them all together for your eternal good and his eternal glory. So when you feel that sting of a painful memory or the shame of a past mistake, I want you to offer it to him. Say, Lord, take this thread, heal it, weave it into your masterpiece. He will be faithful to do it. He is redeeming your story in real time. Trust his process. Trust his love. Trust that he is making all things, including your memory, beautiful in his time. Father, I pray for every single person watching this right now. For everyone who carries the weight of a painful past, for everyone who grieves the loss of a loved one and worries about their story, I ask that you would pour out your peace, give them a glimpse of this eternal perspective. Help them to see their own lives and the lives of those they love through your eyes of grace. Heal their memories and replace their fear with a profound and unshakable hope in your perfect love. The truth Jesus showed me is that your soul will not be an archive of your pain, but a living tapestry of your redemption. You have nothing to fear from your own story. It is the story of how God's love has triumphed in your life, and one day you will remember it all with a joy that is beyond comprehension. Live with that hope, live with that freedom, live a story that you will be thrilled to remember forever. If this touched your heart, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe to stay connected for more of these conversations. And please share in the comments below. Tell me your own thoughts on this. Your story matters, and I'd love to hear it.